Okay, I'm sure our customers are already thinking about things they'd like to do with these nifty new presses, which brings up another question some of them asked in the survey we sent. What kind of accessories do they need?
Good question. As you might expect, it depends in part on your application. Sublimation and laser transfers require different accessories. So let's look at a simple checklist of recommended supplies.
Okay, so let's start with the most popular, which would be heat transfer film or t-shirt vinyl. What do you suggest for that?
Well, it's pretty simple. Since we're making decals for shirts, most of what you need for this application is similar to the tool set for vinyl signs. In addition to your heat press, you'll need weeding tools. My favorites are the SW curved weeding tool and the new SW tweezers. Next on the list is a Teflon sheet. Teflon sheets serve two functions. They protect the fabric from direct contact with the heat press, but just as importantly, they keep things from sticking to the platen. So if you happen to place the film on the t-shirt upside down, which happens from time to time, it's not going to stick to your platen and make a gooey mess, because Teflon.
Yeah, the Teflon sheet's kind of a must-have.
It's used in almost all of our applications. They are reusable, so you don't need a boatload of them, but keep a few on hand. Next on the list is another accessory that works with various garment applications. Whether you're using a t-shirt, vinyl, laser transfer, or sublimation, if you're putting an image on the shirt, you need to make sure it goes on straight. That brings us to the T-square-it.
Now, how appropriate that you'd bring up the T-square-it.
You call me a square man?
No, not at all.
The T-square-it is invaluable for making sure your transfer goes on straight. It helps you line up the vinyl, paper, or whatever to the shirt's collar so you get a professional-looking transfer.
And the logo-it goes with that, right?
Yes, indeed. Use the logo-it for front pocket or chest area transfers. These are lifesavers.
Okay, what about sublimation? What accessories do we need for that?
Good question. Let's start by taking a step backwards. If you're sublimating apparel, do not use the Teflon sheet. This is the only garment decoration method for which we can't use it. Well, now, we have a blog article that explains this in detail, which we'll add a link to in our follow-up email or the archive webinar, but it's just not a good idea. Instead, if you're sublimating apparel, you need to use some basic newsprint paper or copy paper to place under the shirt and between the transfer sheet and the heat platen. This prevents ink from bleeding through to the platen or the table of the press. Use each sheet once and discard them.
Speaking of putting things under the shirt, I see we've got some pads on the list here.
Yes, these are also helpful when you're sublimating polyester shirts to ceramic tiles. Use the Nomex pads for ceramic tiles. They allow you to use sufficient pressure to get good transfer without cracking the tile. The Teflon pillow is used to reduce the likelihood of creasing a polyester shirt. Often with today's super soft polyester shirts, the edge of the heat platen will put a little crease in the shirt. Place a Teflon pillow inside the shirt to cushion it and prevent this.
Good idea. So if you're getting set up for sublimation, you want to have some craft paper, a Teflon pillow, and a Nomex pad. That covers shirt and flat stuff. What about mugs?
Well, if you're sublimating mugs, you may want some mug fittings of various sizes. These provide a tight seal on mugs with various diameters and heights. They're measured by the volume size of the mug. The standard fitting on the Endura MP5 mug press is 11 ounces. We have 11, 15, and 17 ounce mug fittings available coming soon. Now, to keep the transfer paper securely attached to the mug, you'll need some heat tape. It's not only for mugs, but they're the most common application. This is a thin roll of clear tape, usually no wider than about a ½ inch, that is, of course, heat resistant. We use it to attach the sublimation paper to the substrate to keep it in place during sublimation. They're also used with mouse pads, ceramic tiles, phone covers, and a bunch of other hard surface sublimation items, and for laser transfer as well, and you got to have some of this on hand.
And it's available from SignWarehouse?
For sure.
All right, you're the man. I take back the T-square remark.
All right.
So what do we need for print and cut decals?
Well, let's start with the other heat transfer tape. If you're using your PrismJet or other inkjet printer to create printed heat-applied decals, say with a Hotmark print, a DarkJet, or a Color Print Easy, you're probably going to need some transfer tape to transfer the printed and weeded decal to the shirt. Most of these films are very thin.
They kind of have to be in order to be comfortable, right?
Right. People prefer thinner, softer transfers. So the best-selling films are too thin to transfer by hand. We use tape to remove them from the liner and place them on the garment, just like when you transfer a vinyl decal to a banner blank.
So why can't you just use like art tape or EnduraPress?
Because heat.
Ah, makes sense.
Standard paper tapes don't work with these uber-thin heat transfer vinyls, and if they do get the vinyl off the liner and onto the shirt, they leave residue on the garment. Not good. And regular clear tapes like Clear Choice will melt on the heat press. So we have special heat transfer tapes for this application. Caesar TTD Easy Mask is a recommended tape for use with Caesar color print vinyls, and Duratex's ATT series tapes are suggested for Hotmark print, DarkJet, solvent, things like that. And we have a blog article that explains this process as well. Now, the other accessories you'll need for print and cut decals are the Teflon sheet and your weeding tools.
So that brings us to laser transfer. What's on the iColor accessory shopping list?
Well, some of the same things and a few unique ones. You will, of course, need some self-weeding laser transfer paper. These are one-step self-weeding papers for decorating light garments and rigid substrates, and there are two-step self-weeding paper combos for decorating dark garments. Your choice of paper will determine what other accessories you may need. If you choose Uninet Premium paper, you'll also need a lower platen wrap and a Teflon sheet. And to get the perfect transfer every time, Uninet recommends a hot laminator. Now, we've done some testing with a Fellows model that works really well on the 5 mil setting. If you're using the iColor two-step standard paper or Forever Laser Dark, you don't need the laminator or the Teflon sheet, but I'd still recommend using the lower platen wrap. It helps keep the paper from cooling too quickly when you're doing that first step. And for some A-foil applications like Presto Hot Foil or Forever Flex-Off Transfer, heat tape is recommended to keep the A-foil sheet in place. Likewise, of course, if you're using your laser printer to decorate mugs with a hard surface transfer paper, you'll want to use that heat tape just like you would for sublimation. But by far the most important accessory for laser transfers is the IR thermometer. Self-weeding papers have very specific temperature requirements, and you'll need the IR thermometer to make sure that the platen temperature is what it's supposed to be.
All right, let's not forget our many bling-happy customers. What do you need to get set up for rhinestones?
Good question. Rhinestones are a kind of unique application, so it requires unique accessories. The process is kind of similar to heat transfer vinyl because the only equipment you use is a heat press and a vinyl cutter. But instead of creating solid color graphics, you are of course simply converting outlines and shapes into patterns of rhinestones.
So these will be accessories for turning patterns into blingy apparel.
And the basic ingredients, other than the hot fix rhinestones of course, are rhinestone stencil film, hot fix transfer tape, and some gadgets and widgets for herding the stones into the holes you cut in the film. Again, don't use normal sign vinyl transfer tape. That won't cut it. You need acrylic hot fix transfer tape to yank those lovely little stones out of the stencil film. And if you're shopping for stencil film, most people prefer the blue 20 mil stencil film with a Mylar release liner. It's easier to cut and weed. The best way to get all these goodies at once is to purchase Graphtec's handy dandy rhinestone starter kit. It's only about $72 and comes with all the hardware you need.
Okay, so there's your heat transfer accessories list. By the way, this will be included in your handout, so don't feel like you have to write all of this down.